Everybody, welcome back. So EA.6 has been out for a few days now, and I've gotten to dabble a little bit with factories, and I wanted to try something different today. So we're going to try to replace the imports of French fries, and we're going to see if we can make a factory or a series of factories that'll help us achieve that goal. So let's check it out. Let's see if we can accomplish that and see how well it goes. So let's get started. So you guys remember this save here. It is for BCA Enterprises. We use this for our main playthrough, my long series essentially. And you know, I have plenty of businesses open. I make about $1 million a day. I've also been able to basically take over a lot of locations. Also, I have a bunch of empty places that I'm renting just to kind of reduce competition and whatnot. But my main concern isn't exactly the variables behind this video, if you will. I'm not going to try to maximize or minimize any impacts. I'm not going to try to go through any hard testing for this. I'm just simply curious if factories can achieve what I want, which is replacing the need to import French fries. So if we look at our business currently, we are sitting at, I believe it's 13,000 if I remember correctly. Yeah, 13,000 French fries is what we import on a daily basis. You can tell we use around 6,000 to 7,000 per day in reality. But again, I keep replenishing it at that 13,000 mark. But we're hoping that French fries can be replaced. Now, the reason why I'm choosing something simple like this is I've done a little bit of background kind of testing to see how well do these factories work right now. Now, bear in mind that this is experimental. Bear in mind that there's going to be a lot of changes that'll occur before this gets released. So everything that's happening in this video is not final. Don't take it as gospel. It's not going to be the end all informative thing on factories at all. In fact, one of the preliminary things that I figured out, at least to begin with, and I'll check that out in this video for sure, is at the moment, it's almost double the cost to make factory goods versus the importer. Now, the big thing about that is that they have not gone through the balance pass as it pertains to the importer itself. Pricing will change, and I believe that pricing will incentivize building factories. And that's kind of why I want to see if I can even just replace a good with factories. So in my mind, the final goal, I believe what they're trying to achieve is that factories should probably replace your major products, and then importers can be your ancillary products. So for instance, that means, you know, hamburgers and pizza and like all the major foods need to be done by factory, or can be done by factory, I should say. And then things like, you know, soda or like vegetables at the supermarket, like the minor impact goods can be imported. And honestly, I bet you French fries is probably one of those goods that can be just categorized as an import versus a factory. But I'm still going to stick with French fries today just because it's a little bit simpler. It's not as complicated. Like for instance, hamburgers, they have 3 ingredients that you need, and then they require a specialized machine that inputs all 3 ingredients and processes them. Versus French fries, all I'm going to need to do is cut the fries from raw ingredients and then fry them. That's what I'm going to try to accomplish. I'm going to try to accomplish 13,000 per day. Whether or not I can do that is a different story. So we'll check that out. We'll see how that goes. But first thing first, we need to find a place to park our butts and build a factory. So let's take a look and see what we got available. Obviously, I've rented off a lot of these places. I don't know if you remember or not, but remember, I have all these different factories sending out particular types of goods. So, you know, I have my electronics goods, excuse me. I have my clothing goods, etc. So a lot of these warehouses down here are going to be taken. So I'm going to go down over here and see. Ideally, I want a large location. So 690 doesn't cut it, but for instance, 1292 would. I don't think, yeah, I can't even buy the building yet. So, and we need all of our money. Factories are very expensive to start. Thankfully, we're not going to be starting with the most expensive stuff. It's going to be cheaper, comparatively speaking, but we'll see how that goes. But let's see if we can find a warehouse first. Factory found. So we are in a 1292 square meter space. Now, the first thing I notice since I have loaded up an old save is that it has ceiling lamp tubes instead of the industrial lights. I don't think that's going to be a big deal, but I guess we'll see if that's going to be the case. The other thing that, and this is regardless of what version I'm in, right now, factories being attached to warehouses, we're all stuck with delivery slots no matter what. Now, this is not permanent in terms of how factories will end up working. I had spoken to one of the lead developers, Jonas, the lead developer, I should say, and this was in the Discord for Hovguard Games, so it wasn't like it was some private chat. I'm not privy to anything private, nothing like that. But he did explain that in the future, which we've all noticed this giant bridge in Lower Manhattan, where does it go? Why is it not, allowable to be traversed? Well, it turns out, and this is in the plans, I shouldn't say that this is absolutely going to happen, but I have a very good and strong feeling that it's going to happen. This bridge will lead us to another area, another part of the city, where factory locations will exist that are optimized for factories. So I don't know if that means that there's not going to be a delivery slot in there. There still very well might be a delivery slot and even two in there, but maybe it'll be optimized in the sense that your space is going to be much larger for a factory floor, because obviously right now this is the majority of your space. Yeah, we have this in betweener, don't get me wrong, it's not like this doesn't count. It's just not as conducive to a nice layout as a factory, should have. Anyway, I'm assuming what's going to happen is that we're going to have a nice big central space, and then maybe the delivery slots will, like the interior itself might be larger, and the delivery slots will still be situated how we have these two garages here, for instance, and these, little dips in the flooring so a truck can get in. But maybe they'll be situated in a different spot of the building so they're not in the way. They'll probably be literally side by side, so now there won't be this like central spot between them. It'll probably be just a side by side situation, but that's definitely something to look forward to. So the big thing, the big takeaway, at least on the layout of these buildings and why you honestly want the largest one possible, is that the amount of space is limited currently. But in the future, we won't be nearly almost at all limited to our own desires with our factories. But this is what we have to work with. So I've already gone ahead. I've driven to the factory outlet location, similar to how there's, AJ Peterson for appliances and whatnot. But in this case, we have Factory Supply Depot. They are found off of 5th Avenue in Lower Manhattan. If I open up BizMan and show you the inventory, you can see that they have all of the machinery necessary for factories. What we're going to be concerned about today is the automated frying machine, as well as the food cutting machine, and then input stations. And obviously I already have pallets or pallet shelves in the warehouse currently. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Just got to get the right machinery in and get it going so that we can try to get fries to be replaced from the importer. The other thing that I'm looking at too, and I might do regardless of the situation with the current lamps, is add in the actual ceiling lamps for the industrial locations. It looks so much better. So we'll give that a try too. But yeah, let's get in contact with them and we'll see exactly how much this is going to cost. And this is where this is certainly an end game thing, at least as the game stands right now. I suppose you could start dabbling into the cheaper products in the mid game, but you'll be hard pressed, at least when you're expanding quickly. In my opinion, I would say you want to focus on building your empire, businesses and whatnot before you delve into factories. Factories should be your end game goal in replacing the importer. So we're gonna go to BCA factory here. We're just gonna have it delivered tomorrow. And we have 6 million to play with currently, but let's add. I'm trying to think, how many do you think I would need? So one thing that might help. So I explained in my introduction to EA.6, that video, I explained that they did a lot of updating to the F1 menu. They cleaned things up, you know, gave us more information. The one thing I would really like out of the F1 menu as it pertains to factory machines specifically, the rest of it I'm fine with, I really am. But for factory machines, I would really, really love to know how much of a difference the skill of the factory worker makes on the actual output of these machines. Now, if I go to the employee types and I go to factory worker, it's going to explain that the skill percentage determines how quickly they can operate the machine. But that doesn't tell me how many products per hour can this machine do at base. And that's something I really need to know. One of the major things I think from factory games that by no means is Big Ambition's trying to be. That's not what the point of this is, but it's inspired by them. And this should be, in my opinion, one of the simpler things that should be included on information as it pertains to factories is the type of information that allows you to determine how best to, you know, set out your factories. Do I need to always have 100% workers? Or can I get away with 50% workers? Is the difference actually going to be that great between the two? You know, there's certain parts of information that'd be very helpful. Now, I'll show you here what the screen looks like once we have everything set up. There is some of that information that is accessible, but not in the manner that I'm speaking to. It's not exactly what I'm looking for, at least for myself. And I can't speak for everyone. Obviously, I can't. But for myself, I feel like I need to have that information to make a better, more informed decision on how I move forward, to be honest. Anyway, so we have our automated frying machines here. Let's get 4. Now, I don't know if I necessarily need 4 cutting machines. So thankfully, we're just going to try this out. It's not important or anything like that I don't get 4 today. I'm going to get 2 and I'm going to have those split out, which I'm going to need some conveyor belt splitters. I don't need 3, just need 2. I'm going to just get a mess of conveyor belts. I think 30 should be more than enough. You can already tell, look at how much we're already at. We're at $755,250. That's including the $250 fee, of course. So we're at $755,000 just to get some automated frying machines and conveyor belts. And we don't even have the input stations yet. We're going to need 2 of those actually, because we only have 2 machines right now. And then we're going to have 4 outputs. Like I already said, we already have the pallet shelves, so you don't need to get those. But I think that's everything we're going to need in the immediate sense. We're not building anything else. We're not needing anything else. We just need to fry the fries and get them out. Now, I'll get delivery guys and whatnot here in a little bit, but for now, we're going to just start with the factory itself. So our final tally today out the door is $905,000.
Oh my God.
So we're going to hit order on that guy. It's going to eat up almost the entire profit margin we have. But the other thing I want to compare just in the immediate sense right now. So we know $905,000. I'm going to open up a calculator here. Put that number in. So $905,000. Now, if I go to our purchasing agent, Seaside Internationals for French fries here. So 13,000 French fries right now costs $1,188.86 at 26 cents each. Now, obviously that fluctuates. What I want to do here is, given that fact that I just spent $905,000 to purchase all the equipment to replace the need to import, how many days of French fry ordering is this roughly going to mean? So we're going to divide 905,000 by $1,188.86 for we're just going to use today's numbers. That is 761 days of French fries. So we're already 761 days in the negative versus what we're going to make back. So we're going to just set that aside for now. We're not going to worry about that. And again, I'm not going to go into like the super hard math. It's just an interesting little perspective. So now that we have that stuff ordered, let's get that stuff in. Let's get a layout going and let's see what it looks like with the layout. All right, so we got the stuff in. I love this, by the way. First off, deliveries inside, brilliant. Love it. I also love that I can move the delivery spot to wherever I want it, at least within, you know, where I can put things. So I'm going to just place it right there so I don't have to go back and forth with my screen here. I've already laid out two and I just thought about it and I was like, I need to get this moved. Can't take it anymore. So I'm going to put these out. I'm just going to lay some things out first. You can tell that really, functionally speaking, the amount of things that we have to worry about in terms of getting things set up is not that bad. It really isn't. And, you know, that part is really nice. It's not like a retail business where you have tons of different things that you're doing. Granted, yeah, 30 conveyor belts is a lot of conveyor belts, but I'm very likely not going to use most of them. I just went overkill with it. I felt like it made the most sense just to get as many as you wanted, just to get them out of the way so I won't need to go back and forth between, you know, ordering over and over again. So, all right, everything's there. I'm going to leave the conveyor belts out for now. So I could, strangely enough, already I'm seeing that this is probably exactly how it's going to be laid out. But let's take a gander here and make sure that is actually going to be fine. So first things first, I always like to lay out, and I should say always, like I've been doing this forever. The last few times I've actually done the factories within the last couple days, I've liked to lay out the output stations or input stations, whatever is closer to the wall first, just to see how much space I have if I need to move between things. And so far right now, this should be fine. What we're looking at here, so already notice how I have look with the small squares within the larger squares. I need to be basically 1 over on each of these. I think that'll set it up correctly. So if that's gonna work, it is perfect. Okay, so I just need to move that back up. And then that goes, actually, I inverted it here. There we go. So what's really cool is it automatically converts it to a single belt right here. That's a nice thing to have. It's similar to many other factory games that are, you know, they automatically shift how the belt works. So that's perfect there. Now, can this fit? No, it can't. So what I'll do is I'll just set it like this. There we go. In fact, I can just go right there. Oops. Grab another conveyor belt. Boom. That output goes to these two machines here. These will output. They'll pick up goods and whatnot. The other thing that you need to be mindful of, and I don't know if it affects it, because you know how with businesses themselves, your layout actually doesn't matter. It's just the raw inputs and outputs of your business. So for instance, your layout so long as you have that cash register and, you know, some kind of good in your business, what it looks like inside doesn't matter. Your employees don't move. In the factory, they do move because they have to go and pick up goods from the pallets after you've had them deliver. I don't know if it makes a difference when you're not in the building versus when you're in the building. So my point in this is that you can't just build a line that goes around the entire area. Like, you can't block people off, essentially. They need access to the pallet shelves. So that's one thing you need to be mindful when making your factories, is making sure you don't cut off avenues that people can walk through. I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't believe it matters, at least in terms of the actual end throughput, but I'm sure it matters in the sense of the ability for the employee to actually reach goods. I'm sure it'll probably be blocked, but I'm not 100% sure. So, and we're not going to test that. That's not what today is about. So we're just going to try to see if we can do what I want to do here. All right, let's get this set over here for that input. Let's get some conveyor belts. And we want that one there. That one there. There. And lastly, that one there. And we will do the same thing here. Boom. So very similar layouts, very simple, very easy. It's not centered. I'm not going to be worried about that right now, though it is obviously bothering me. It is bothersome. Not going to lie. Not going to lie. But I'm going to leave it. Just going to leave it. So we have plenty of conveyor belts remaining. Don't need to worry about that. So now we need to just find some factory workers here. And the main thing we should be concerned about is, well, first off, let's actually see how many stations we have. So factory, 24 hours. You can change the time. I do not know why you would. I really don't know why you would. It's going to be open every single day. What I'm going to do is just the standard, you know, 5. Probably, I'll probably do the 3 shift spiel with full timers and then part timers working 12-hour shifts on the weekends. I don't know. It just seems straightforward and easy to deal with. I don't really want to deal with all sorts of different jumbled things there. So anyway, let's look at our candidates here. Let's see if we even have enough. All right, so I have people hired in. I have the layout as you saw completed. Now we need to visit one of the new locations for importing. So now instead of importing the finished goods, we're importing raw goods. So let's open up our map and let's take a look and see where this location is. So we have 3 new places here: Lunar Tide Shipments, Maritime Freight Line, and Aquatic Bay Cargo. We are going to, I believe, Lunar Tide today. Let's see, do they have russet potatoes? Yes, they do. Perfect. So yeah, we're going to be going to Lunar Tide. We're going to be adding in a purchasing agent to our HQ, which I've already hired 2 of them. I hired 3 and I forgot I only had 2 seats, so I just got rid of the 1 person. Sorry, buddy. You were overqualified. Anyway, so I'm just probably going to visit Maritime Freight and Lunar Tide just for the sake of getting them hired in. But yeah, it's an easy drive. It's right down the road towards Lower Manhattan, and it's an all new area which can be, you know, walked around. It's nothing special. There's nothing that's been added that's, you know, super pressing to see, but it's just a cool little, I like this little spot here. It's very neat. Anyway, let's head down there. We're just gonna break all the laws possible, drive through red lights, and have some fun. Okay, so we have our purchasing agent set up, Mildred Lavelle. She is what? Skill 98%, good enough. So right now we are looking at russet potatoes, which you can see all my raw ingredients here, what I can purchase. So russet potatoes are 26 cents each. So in theory, if I get 13,000 of them, it'll be the same exact cost as we saw, at least from the importer for French fries, to purchase these than it is to purchase the French fries themselves. So right off the bat, we know that they are equal in terms of the purchasing part of it. It's now a matter of, are we cutting russet potatoes to the point where our 26 cents is going from a single French fry to like 5 to 10 French fries? I don't know yet. We'll find out. Main problem here, though, is that I can't order unless I order $10,000 worth of this. So we're going to try to just order. I don't want to order more than $10,000. I'm going to try to get as close as I can. So let's do 40,000 here. Ooh, not 400. 40,000. There we go. So we'll just stick with 40,000 russet potatoes. That is a hell of a lot of potatoes. And let's assign that to BCA factory. And let's call that a day. Let's order. Boom. Hopefully we'll have room for our finished goods. We'll find out then, but we should have plenty of pallet space at least. Anyway, so now we have that. We have our factory ready to start processing. Let's just jump to that next day and let's see the factory in action. You know, I was going to cut away, but I want to take a moment to just appreciate the hell out of this new lighting. Man, it gives you such a different look to the city. This feels like a much cooler look right now versus what it used to be. I mean, it is just fantastic. Now, trying to avoid traffic as much as I can while breaking laws here. But we are finally at the factory itself. Now, I am going to jump time now. But I had to show you the lighting again. I can't stop gushing over it, okay? It's just really, really good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our goods have arrived. Now, I haven't started the factory just yet because one thing I forgot to do is set up exactly how each station should be defined. So we're going to be setting up the inputs here first with russet potatoes, and then finally the cutting machine for raw fries, and then the frying machine for French fries. Something I totally forgot to do. Thankfully, it's not that bad. Loving these new menus. Now, I know people have also complained about having to confirm multiple times. I can understand how that's annoying. I don't care. To me, I could see how it could be an annoying major issue for certain people. I can also see, such as myself, why it's not that big a deal either. I don't know. It just doesn't bother me. Wait, no, I need russet potatoes. There we go. Okay, so now everything should be set. Russet potatoes being sent to the food cutting machine. They're cut. So there you go. Outputs 2 raw fries. So 1 potato becomes 2 raw fries. 26 cents becomes double in terms of the fry comparison. So 26 cents at the importer per fry versus 26 cents per russet potato, turning into 2 fries. Perfect. All right. So everything is set there. Outputs, you don't need to worry about. They just output the good that they're attached to. So let's open our factory here. Boom. Everyone should show up. The 2 inputters will start grabbing goods. This is where I was saying, okay, well, the game just glitched. That was interesting. Oh, I see why. Shift change. All right, so they're going to grab their goods. And they're going to do it very slowly. Loveguard, if you are watching, I would, if possible, if it doesn't mess anything up, at least visually speaking. Maybe not so much. I get the mathematics behind it. Maybe you don't want to change that aspect, but like, why aren't they just sitting there? Can we at least get the visuals only to actually, like, they come over, they pick up a box and they walk back over? Like, they don't just stand there weirdly. It's just a little weird to me. I don't know. It's just my opinion, I guess. But there you go. They're moving the fries over. It goes into the fry machine. It takes 8 minutes to produce. So 5 minutes to produce the actual raw fries, 8 minutes to produce each individual fry. And notice how the conveyor belts will wait until this particular product is done and then it moves it forward. So we're already getting that pushed out, which is really good. So with that being said, I believe it'll show us the actual output, the final output that these machines can handle. If we go to Bismate. So not sure why I'm getting 0 products per hour here. That's a little strange. I'm not sure what's going on. They are clearly making things because they all have something, yet it doesn't seem to be the case. That's fine. We'll see. That could be a bug. I'll throw in a bug report if that is the case. But what I want to do now, we see that it's going to start backing up, which is, I guess, not necessarily a good thing. It means that though we have more throughput. That's a good thing at least. But we could add on probably 2 more machines. I'm just not sure exactly how that works with the conveyor belts, to be quite honest. Probably what I would do is put another splitter, like maybe right here, and have the output. It's going to look funky, but maybe like, you know, if it's even possible. So if there's an output here, it is possible. Okay. So yeah, I would have like an output to maybe a machine facing this direction. And that's something we can do. But right now, what I'm going to do is we're going to fast forward time. We're just going to do until, let's see, we opened up at like what, 9? We'll call it 9 o'clock. And we'll see how many French fries we've made in a day. Let's see how close it gets to. I don't think it's going to be close at all, personally speaking. But we're going to see how close it gets to in terms of our daily need for French fries. So let's take a look. Okay, it is 9:03 a.m. We're going to head inside before we just look at the numbers here. So let's look at our numbers inside the factory. What is our inventory? 739 French fries. It took 4 machines 24 hours to make 739. Now we saw all 4 machines working. And again, before I even continue right now, I need everyone to remember that this is experimental. It's not final. So everything I'm about to say is for the benefit, honestly, of the game itself. I need to point out that, hey, these numbers don't look right, because that doesn't look right to me. Now, maybe the design intention was to have more than just 4 machines. I imagine that is very likely the case. However, 4 machines pumping out 739 fries means that each machine in one day made 184 fries. We divide that by 24 hours, they made 7.69 fries per hour. That is concurrent, even though this says 0, it is roughly concurrent with what we would expect. This is saying 7.33. You know, that could be a time thing. I may have missed the time, but we know for sure that this number is accurate. Now, what's strange is that this is saying 4 minutes production time per product. So I imagine, and this is where we're going back to what I said earlier, the information is found at a different screen. This is that screen. So I imagine that if I were to put like a 50% worker, maybe the product, you know, production per time for the product, might be 5 minutes or 6 minutes. Who knows? Needless to say, on that screen, it shows 4. However, on this screen, it shows 8. So I don't know. And maybe that's just a function of the game engine. I really don't know. It would be cool to see this tooltip updated, but it is absolutely not necessary. It is just something cool if it's possible. because it'd be nice to see how my workers affected directly without having to go into BizMan. But it's, again, it's seriously not that big a deal. It really isn't. It's kind of like a little wish list thing. But so yeah, we're looking at essentially needing a lot more than what we're looking at right now. So if we've made 739 fries in a day, in order to meet, I'm just going to throw up a calculator here. So if I order 13,000, I need to divide by, so it's going to take 18 days for me to meet 13,000 at just these 4 machines. So in order for me to meet the daily goal, in order for me to meet the daily goal of 13,000 fries per day, which actually isn't really that necessary. I could cut that in half, but we're just going to go with what I'm ordering from the importer because I just want to know if I can match it. I need 71 automated frying machines at its current rate. 71. I'm sorry, that's untenable. That's untenable. That replacing my importer with 71 automated fry machines, I'm telling you right now, I would have to basically own every single warehouse, and every single warehouse is literally just going to be frying machines making French fries. Pretty certain that is not the goal of this update. So with that being said, let's talk about what changes in my opinion, and you guys can share your opinion as well. You can tell me I'm an idiot. I don't care. I just want to share how I feel. So with knowing how many you're going to need, I would say it would be much more appropriate if this was like 10 times faster. So what does that mean? And maybe not 10 times faster, but maybe 10 times more output than what it is right now. So if we were making, you know, 70 fries an hour, we'll call it 73 fries an hour times 4 machines, which is 292 an hour, times 24 hours, that's 7,000 fries. That's reasonable. 7,000 fries from 4 machines in a day is entirely reasonable. I think, and it should be different for every unit. I'm sure there's got to be some balancing around it, and I hope it's not something that's overly complicated, but like for instance, this machine, and we're going to just focus on this one right now because this is the focus of the video, is French fries. This machine would make a lot more sense if it was that much faster, or even 5 times faster, maybe making you have multiple factories of French fries. I don't know exactly what their design desires are, what the goal is for the machines in the end before they release 0.6, but they certainly need to output more. I don't think that this will be worthwhile for, for someone such as myself having, let's look at our fast food restaurants here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I just have 8 fast food restaurants. And of these fast food restaurants, I'm pretty sure almost all of them are. So Pizza isn't. Well, I'm not going to go through every single one, but I'm pretty sure most of them are using French fries. So spending nearly as much, this was $905,000. I'm already 761 days in the negative versus importing. And now I need to spend tens of millions, maybe $100 million just to get the same amount as the importer. As it stands currently with the numbers in experimental, numbers are not final. Again, the importer costs are definitely going to change, and maybe it will be worth it at that point. I don't know. But as it stands right now, this doesn't work. It is insanely cool for concept, but until balance changes are done, right now in experimental, I wouldn't put too much stock in this replacing any importers anytime soon. However, everyone that is willing should still check out experimental if you have the chance, because being able to set up these factories, I mean, let's be honest, this is cool as hell. This is cool. I love the fact that we're getting these factories so we can make our own goods. This is the right direction for this game. And, you know, really, it opens up a whole bunch of possibilities. One of the really cool things that was talked about in that chat the other day with Jonas was the idea of, you know, having your factories in New York City making your goods, and, you know, in the future for DLCs in different cities, having those goods shipped to the new cities that may, you know, show up or crop up in the future. What an awesome concept. And that leads credence to what he mentioned in terms of that new zone in, you know, the lower side of the city here, that new zone connecting to this bridge here. Maybe that is going to be the overarching goal. Who knows? Regardless of that, though, some of the things that I think should definitely be implemented, I would really, really appreciate if it's doable, and maybe not so much, maybe not for this particular patch, maybe in a future patch, but it would be nice if it's possible not only to have like sort of like bridges over conveyor belts so that you can put a conveyor belt around an entire area, but then that allows your employees to walk over that bridge and get to the area that they need to get to in order to fulfill their duties of, you know, grabbing goods at the pallets and bringing them back, etc. It would be really cool to have that. It would also be cool to have not just splitters, but combiners. Multiple inputs going into a single conveyor belt and stacking. Stacking would be really cool too. You know, taking inspiration from games like Satisfactory or Stationeers or Factorio, things like that, factory games. Again, this does not need to be and should not be a factory game. It is a business game primarily. Factories are just part of business, but simple, in my opinion, minor. It may not be developmentally a minor thing. That could actually be a really difficult thing. I'm not going to say it's possible. It's only probable in my mind, but I think things like that could make a huge difference. Another thing, again, if possible, would be different versions of the same machine, allowing you to have different ways of laying out your factory. One of the major ones that I'm thinking of is the automated, or not the automated, but the food assembly machine. Oh, that doesn't really show you. Let's go to BizMan for the factory outlet here. So food assembly machine, it looks like this. There are two inputs on both sides, an input at the front and then an output in the back. The way it stands right now, how this machine is situated with the current conveyor system, it makes it very difficult to actually utilize the entire machine unless you're just doing raw inputs and that's it, without having any other machine. So one thing that I did in my testing was to have just a factory doing the food assembly and then another factory doing all the input goods. That's all good and fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but I would, you know, imagine it should be possible for someone to do an all-in-one, so long as it's minor, not obviously a mega factory. Mega factories, I'm sorry, that shouldn't exist in the first place for a game like this, how they seemingly want to make it look. I don't think it should work that way, but I think wholeheartedly that it should be possible to at least, especially for someone starting off with their very first factory, at least have some overall ability to have, you know, a burger factory with all the necessary inputs all in one without it being too much of a trouble. And it's not currently too much of a trouble right now. It's just, it could be with how the conveyor system is. So it's just one of a few things. And again, this is experimental. We'll see changes. Most certainly we'll see changes before they actually release EA.6, but I think it's worth everyone's time to at least take a gander at it, play with it yourself, and, you know, send your own ideas and inputs to them. Remember, the F2 menu doesn't necessarily mean just bugs. This could also be feedback. It's just something to tell them like, hey, I had this idea, or hey, I'm having trouble because of, you know, this and this. Definitely submit input. It is worth your time. It is absolutely going to help the game. And it, you know, it means that you know, are helping develop the game how you think it should be. You're not being left out of the development choices necessarily. So yeah, I think you guys should check it out. But overall, I mean, this is the final take for today's video. No, these do not replace the importer currently as it stands, unless I make 70 automated frying machines. That's not happening. So I think it's pretty neat though that we're getting these first looks at factories and what they can be. You know, there's plenty of other machines that we're not going to explore today. I don't believe I'm going to be doing a series for 0.6 until it's fully released. But of course, if you guys want to know some other stuff, let me know in the comments what you guys think, what you want to see, if you want me to take a look at anything in particular. Again, I don't believe raw testing is going to be worthwhile because the numbers are so wildly inaccurate currently. But if we do get a balance pass and numbers are updated to what they want them to be, you bet your ass I'm going to be doing some kind of playthrough before experimental's release to see exactly where the direction of this development is going for factories. So, with that being said, guys, I really appreciate you guys watching today. Of course, if you haven't done so already, hit that button below. Would love it to see you guys subscribe. I appreciate everyone who has subscribed recently. I know I was gone for a long time. I've already gone into that, but I'm just so happy to see progress being made on Big Ambitions. I'm ready for this game to progress even further. It's really exciting. I really love this game. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Obviously, give me a thumbs up if you like the video, and I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.